What's up, guys? It's Coach Gaglione here. Another edition of the Powerlifting for the People podcast. I'm your host, Coach Gaglione, and we got another interview with one of our longtime teammates today. Nick, how you doing today?
I'm good. How you doing?
Great. So we're just kind of in the process.
Of course.
Yeah, it's always what happens, but it's all good. A little doggy. So we're kind of in the process of kind of interviewing some people who just recently competed and had kind of a PR total recently. But before we kind of recap your meet, great comeback meet. You had your all-time first 9 for 9 PR total, 1875. I want to kind of recap a little bit and just kind of talk about, kind of first how you got into lifting, and then we'll kind of discuss a little bit of like, how you first transitioned from just general lifting to powerlifting, and then we can kind of discuss, more recent. But how did you first kind of get into lifting?
So, I played football in high school, and I'll be honest. When I played football in high school, I was like the laziest kid when it came to lifting. Like, I wanted no part of it whatsoever. I used to actually make up excuses to get out of the weight room. But after high school, I started working out like a little bit with my brother at like the YMCA, and then it's the same thing. I really wasn't into it, and then I think I was like after that I was like maybe like 19 or 20. Me and a couple of my friends started working out. And it was mainly just because we wanted our t-shirts to fit better. It wasn't really anything, crazy. And then me and one of my friends, I actually stumbled. It was like I was on YouTube one day looking up lifting, and like I stumbled on Dan Green, and he was like the first power lifter I ever seen. And then it was a video obviously of him sumo deadlifting, and I was like, wow, this is crazy. And then I pretty much just wanted to be Dan Green. And then me and my friend started, like, I guess you can call it powerlifting, but like we basically just went to the gym and deadlifted 3 times a week. And pretty much almost every time I went to the gym, I deadlifted. So that's kind of how like the intro started. And then like I started looking up more into it. And pretty much I went from there. I started powerlifting, I guess you could say.
So I guess what made you really quick for those that are like listening that are maybe new to powerlifting, Dan Green, I think I would say like Dan Green and probably Stan Efferding, in my eyes, were some kind of people in particular that really, I think, helped kind of accelerate kind of like the resurgence of powerlifting, the growth of powerlifting, and in particular raw lifting. Because I would say up until that point, equipped lifting was still kind of like what powerlifting was, and now it's flipped quite a bit. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and Dan Green also was really jacked too.
Yes.
So I think that was kind of like a lot of people want to. I think he's still sponsored by Animal to this day, and I hear Mustangs of he's going to try to make another comeback, but we'll
Yeah,
see.
I've been seeing him posting videos again. I got pretty happy about it.
So it's always kind of exciting to kind of see. I know that he still is looking for a 900-pound deadlift official. He's done it like in the cage with straps and stuff, and in training on a couple of occasions, but. Yeah, so I think for a lot of us, and Dan Green actually was we were fortunate enough to have him at our gym for a seminar, and I got to kind of rub elbows with a lot of those guys. So I think that was a really cool time, and I think like honestly those are kind of not to like be like kind of the old grumpy man at this point, but I know those are kind of like some of my favorite I guess years in powerlifting, kind of like that like era. I thought that was a really cool time. But what so you kind of that was kind of your inspiration for kind of getting to the gym. And I think let me see here. So it looks like your first meet was around 2016. So
Mhm.
what I guess prompted you to actually like want to like compete?
So it was actually just like random. So like I was doing all like that was like when I started like deadlifting pretty much every day I went to the gym. That's when I made an Instagram. I started like posting videos all the time, and like nobody out of like my like the kids like around my age, nobody was really like deadlifting or powerlifting or doing anything like that, or lifting heavy for that matter. So I was like really one of the only guys, well, kids at that point, deadlifting 500 plus pounds like all the time. And so there was a friend of mine. She lived up in Norwich, New York at the time, and she was living with her ex-husband at the time. And so she randomly messaged me one day. She's like, "Hey, there's like a up where I live, there's like this, they do like this local powerlifting meet. She's like, they do it every year or whatever, you should come do it. Like, whatever." So I was like, okay. So I ended up driving up. I went with me, my brother, and my friend, and we drove up. And I spent. They had like a huge cabin out. They had a house and then like a cabin on their property. They had like this unbelievable property. And we went up. They let us stay there for the weekend, and I went and I ended up doing the meet. And it was actually pretty fun. It was like very like I think it was unsanctioned the first one because I went there and I was in like shorts and like like
Not like
compression
it
pants.
wasn't too strict. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was so much fun. And then I actually ended up doing I think it was like maybe I don't know if it was that same summer or like another 6 months or 7 months later, I did that same exact meet again. And I think it was sanctioned at that point. And then yeah, that was pretty much it. That's really what kickstarted. Once I did that, I was like, yeah, I got to keep doing this.
Yeah, and then I guess I don't know if I know so there's a so for those that are like listening that are not familiar with some of our past and kind of your history. I know that we had like kind of a little bit of a crew that from like Staten Island that would come out here and there. You were kind of part of that crew along with some other kind of notable people. I have some friends out there. One of the guys I kind of grew up with too, Joe Meglio. He's got a bunch of chains of gyms. He was also a really strong deadlifter. I think he pulled like 650 at like 198.
Mhm.
He owns some gyms there, but so there's definitely some strong meatheads coming out of Staten Island for sure. But I guess how did you first hear about our gym initially? And then what I know, like, because I know like you did, you competed at the Autumn Apocalypse RPS meet. And I know that you did. I think the first meet that you did at our gym was one of our like kind of deadlifting contests.
Yep.
Um, so how did you kind of hear about our gym and like initially, and then I guess what I guess prompted you to maybe start to also kind of get like some coaching too?
So that was through Larry Wheels. So he was another one that I followed along with like Dan Green and all them, who was like, just getting into powerlifting. He was like ridiculously strong. So he was another one like I kind of like, like aspired to be when I
Sure.
first started powerlifting. So you were coaching him. And so after I did that Autumn Apocalypse meet, like after that meet, like I did good, whatever at the time, and then I was like, I think at this point, like I need coaching because like I really had no direction whatsoever. I was kind of just like doing whatever. I was following things off of YouTube and just like it was a mess. So I was like, all right, yeah, I definitely need to do some coaching. So I was like, well, why not? Larry Reels is very strong. Why don't I try to use his coach? And so
Sure.
that's why I reached out to you.
Yeah, and I think also too at the time, I mean, now it's like I feel like every like we kind of joke, but every Tom, Dick, and Harry is like a powerlifting coach, and like every it's like, um, I think we were one of the first gyms that really had like I would say like real like kind of professional coaching like as far as in our area, and definitely like I'd say like one of the first like kind of true like team kind of gyms as far as like an actual powerlifting team. I think that was kind of unique, and even like how we run our gym and our business is, I'd say, pretty unique. Because
Yeah, that was
a lot of powerlifting gyms, it's kind of just like people do whatever, and people might train together, but they're not like all training on. So that was something that I kind of picked up from Westside Barbell and kind of the equipped lifting days, because if you've ever kind of tried to bench in a shirt or get in a squat suit, it can be very dangerous.
mhm.
Even just kind of getting in it, you just need training partners. You need a crew to kind of just keep you safe. So that was something that I thought was I tried to kind of take and make it more accessible. And whether with raw lifting, especially if you're just going in sleeves, you may not need the same level of help. But especially you're starting to compete, you're doing raw with wraps, and when you start to kind of wrap your knees and stuff like that, it definitely makes a big difference.
Yeah.
But what was it like? So obviously, like, I know you did a lot of training on your own, and still even like in this last prep, you kind of made the effort to kind of come out, especially on like the squat days. So what was it like transitioning to kind of like doing your own thing to being like not only on a structured plan, but also kind of training with other people and kind of like learning from, I guess people in person.
I'll be honest. I remember the first day I went to your gym. I was so nervous. It was like my mind was blown. I didn't know what the hell was going on. Like I just walked in. There's like 15, 20 people, and like everybody's like stretching together. Like everybody's lifting together. You're like running back and forth, coaching between everybody. I was like, what the fuck is going on? I didn't know what was happening. So but it was crazy because like it was just cool because everybody like I just remember the second I walked in, everybody was super friendly and like everybody saying hi, introducing themselves, talking, asking me like where I'm from, lifting wise, all sorts of questions, and it was really cool actually. And then like I realized at that point because like I thought I knew somewhat how to squat, but then like I
Yeah.
started squatting with the team, and then picked apart everything, and I was just like, yeah, I know nothing about anything I'm doing. So it was really cool. I learned a lot the first day, and it was definitely really fun just being around the team. I was like, and that was just another thing. I was just like, yeah, like this is the kind of shit I want to keep doing.
I think that, for as simple as a sport and then like a competition as powerlifting is, there is like a lot of little technical things that you may miss. And even if you may even watch your own videos, the stuff that you can pick up on in person, if you're like, been doing this a long time, it makes a huge difference. And I think also like getting that feedback like live, because that's one issue that, unless you're kind of doing a Zoom call like this or whatever, and that's fine, but it may not be practical, but getting that, correction like in real time,
Yep.
and also kind of making those, auto regulation, adjusting those training decisions on the fly. And especially, we'll kind of get into, you kind of had some injuries, some setbacks, and then you were able to overcome those things. I definitely want to kind of get into that. But yeah, I think that for people that I always tell people, because again, we do a lot of online coaching and, people do a lot of success, and it's a little bit of a drive for you to get to Staten Island to Long Island. But, getting that in-person help, if you do have access to it, even if it's like on a semi-regular basis, I really do recommend that. I can't recommend it enough, especially if you're like learning. I think, I sometimes get like a little annoyed at some like the younger kids and stuff, because they're like, oh, I got to drive, it's 20 minutes or whatever. And I'm like, guys, it's like, you don't understand like what you kind of can get at. So if you're really serious about it, I think, it definitely, it's tremendous. So I don't know if you could talk about like, because obviously there's lifters in your area that are strong or whatever. So like, and you drive, it might take you, sometimes it could take an hour, sometimes it could take longer. Even though it's with the commute, what would you say is like the value of kind of driving to a gym that has a team and has coaching? Like what, I guess, because some people may not like understand like why, or they might think it's a waste of time or whatever. So what would you say about that? If people have the opportunity to, I guess, train at, and again, there's a lot of places all over the country now. So what would you say to people that are maybe, I guess, on the fence of like maybe driving further or something of that nature?
I think it's just a matter of like the team like family aspect of it, because it's if you have access to these things, like it makes all the difference. Like that for me, it's the difference between like a lifter who, like as you said, like who's serious and who's like semi-serious. Like you're gonna need to go the extra step to get where you want to be. So like that whole team aspect, just it's hard to describe. It's just like you just feel so comfortable when you're there. It's like I never feel more safe in the gym as far as just like my lifting and like the environment I'm in than when I'm with the team. Like when I train by myself most of the time. I mean, I go to the gym with my girl, but we don't lift together. Obviously, we do two completely different things. So I'm training alone all the time, and like the workouts I have when I'm with the team just blow it out of the water when I'm by myself. Like even it's like I don't know how to explain it. It's like I could go to the gym at home and like I could feel somewhat decent, my body, and like have like an okay workout. And I could feel like complete shit when I come to your gym and still have a great workout. So like it's
Yeah.
just one of those things where like it's just your environment is everything, honestly.
Yeah.
And it's just if you have access to it, you need to do it because
Yeah,
it's just like
I think you really need to experience it to like kind of understand like what Nick's saying. I think it's hard to kind of, and even with myself, like because like I said, right now I'm kind of splitting my time between New York and Delaware, and eventually like I'll be kind of live we'll be spending more and more time in Delaware, and just it's not just like the equipment you have, it's not just the location, it's the people, and it's just the energy that they kind of give off, and yeah, it makes all the difference, especially as you get stronger and stronger. So if you're like right now, if you're listening to this and maybe you're just starting and maybe you're like, maybe you're doing like a 1.5 times body weight squat or something, which is like a good starting point. But then you start to go 2, 3, sometimes like I've squatted, at 198, I squatted 4 times my body weight in the competition, which is crazy to think about. When you start to kind of get to these extreme numbers and you get to these elite totals, and as again, feeling safe is tremendous, because you're never going to be able to kind of tap into your full potential if you have that like little glimmer of doubt in the back of your head. So I think that is huge.
yep,
So it's not just about kind of having the support, but also people that are going to keep you safe and kind of know how to spot, that
yep.
have been there before. They're all everyone's kind of training for the same goal. So
That's a big thing
uh,
too. Like when I'm home, like half the time I really don't even like want to go. I don't even want to squat heavy, or like if I don't have somebody there who can give me a good lift off for like a good handoff for bench, like I really don't even want to do it half the time because it's like I've had so many instances. Like it happened in this prep for this meet where I had a heavy bench day and I had nobody there. Like usually my girl would give me my handoffs, or like I'd make sure one of my good friends were there, and I had nobody, and I had to ask some random kid in the gym for a handoff, and like I explained everything like I needed him to do, but like he put it over my chest and like dropped it in my hands, and like I damn near almost dropped 450 pounds on my chest, and like it scared the hell out of me. That I had to call it right there because I couldn't do anything after that because I was just so like mentally out of it. I was scared I was going to tear both my pecs off. So like that, having people around you who you can trust is huge too.
Yeah, and something like that, you literally it could be I think people don't realize like again, but that's why we try to start people off when you first learn. Like we try to treat like even like the lightest weights with the same precision as you would, 1,000 pound. If you wouldn't do it with 1,000 pounds, you shouldn't do it with 200 pounds or whatever. So we kind of like learn because a lot of people don't get to the point where it matters, but at some point, as you get stronger, like just those little things like you take for granted, like unracking the squat, getting a handoff on the bench. If it goes sideways, you have like a major issue. So I do want to kind of talk about, so you had like a little bit of, you did hit an elite total in two weight classes, 242 and 275. And this past meet, you did 275, hit 1875 total, which is great. Got best lifter at the event. And, traditionally that's, like I said, there's definitely some strong, lifters in that kind of that Jersey area. So that was fantastic. That was definitely icing on the cake. Um, so I guess up until you had like a little bit of like it took you like a couple years to, you qualified for the Arnold. Kind of like I'd say like probably maybe underperformed a little bit from what you wanted. I don't want to speak for you, but you could talk about that. But um, I always I'll let you tell the story, but I know like you were kind of in danger of bombing out at the Arnold. So I don't know if you want to like talk about like what happened because I love this story and we were actually well. Anyways, you can kind of go ahead. So what was it like kind of competing on a big stage like that and then almost bombing out and then kind of making through? So if you want to maybe talk to that story and I can kind of add a little commentary.
So I'll tell you, just even leading, like just even before I got on the platform, that prep was crazy because I that was like recently after I moved. So like I was in a new state, I had a new job, like my job was crazy. I was training, I think I went through two or three different gyms throughout that prep trying to figure out like where I wanted to like make my home. It was the whole prep was all over the place. And then like I think it was like 2 or maybe like 3 weeks out from the Arnold's when I first hurt my knee, like bad, squatting. And like I kind of just like was like whatever, like I'm not gonna back out now, like I'm going to Arnold, I'm not gonna stop. So like I was already hurt going into it, and like it was just a mess. And then I decided to cut weight, which I'm not good at cutting weight at all, obviously. So that went horrible because I couldn't even sweat out the last couple pounds that I spit everything out. And because I ate so many Sour Patch, I burned my whole tongue. So like I couldn't even eat after because it hurt so bad. So I think I had like one meal after weigh-ins. So like it was just horrible. Like my like walking into that meet, I felt so defeated already. But getting there, yeah, it was pretty nerve-wracking being there because it was a big stage. There was a lot of people, like a lot more people than I'm used to, and like everybody there was just super strong, and like you could tell everybody was like a very experienced lifter. So like that was nerve-wracking to begin with. And then yeah, I was bombed out of the whole meet. So that I tell people the story all the time too. It's pretty crazy because they ask me like, oh, like that's like everyone's first question. I'm like, oh, I compete at the Arnold, whatever. Like, oh, did you see Arnold? I'm like, yeah, actually I did. So yeah, I went up. I got called for depth on my first two squats, which was like kind of questionable. I don't know. I felt like I hit depth, but
Yeah,
it is.
so for the people that are listening, at the X, we usually send a team to the XBC finals, which is the Raw with Wraps division at the Arnold. The USAPL has events as well for like the sleeved lifters and like the single ply lifters. And they also have like a multiply equipped division, which I competed in the last 2 years. So, but they've always been strict with their depth. They will, and sometimes to a point where it's like a little
Yeah.
crazy. So a lot of the equipped lifters end up bombing out, but it does happen sometimes for raw. So Nick was like, anyway, so we're going into the third squat. You needed to stay in the meet. And then we see the security guards start walking in,
Yeah.
and then it's Arnold, and he's like right there, and I'm like, well, you can't bomb out in front of Arnold.
Literally like spitting distance from
It
the platform.
was like literally we could have like touched him. It was crazy.
I remember just like you wrap my knees and like I was already like, trying to get myself together mentally. So I was like, shit, like I don't want to bomb out of this meet. So like I remember just like chalking my hands and I just rounded the corner. I looked directly at him and stopped. I was like, oh shit, it's Arnold. And then I went up and he's like sitting there cheering me. I'm like, all right, yeah, I have to hit
It
this now.
was
No way I'm
it
missing
was
this
really
one.
cool. I mean, yeah, thank God they gave it to you, because that would have been like just so
Yeah.
it might have been, it was like a good luck charm, whatever, but you
Yeah.
end up finishing, you ended up salvaging the day.
Yeah.
I thought that, so I always like kind of tell that story. I thought that was like really cool, because I mean
Yeah.
that's as close as probably we'll ever get to the governor. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, it was cool. So that was a pretty cool moment, and so kind of fast forward. So you kind of, that kind of knee issue kind of was lingering for quite some time. It's been a couple of years. I know like you kind of tried to kind of come back a few times, and then finally we kind of were able to methodically kind of come back. I know you were very diligent with stretching and stuff. So I guess if you can, I don't know, again, you can kind of be as extensive as you want with this, but obviously like you wanted to compete again. I know that you were kind of looking to compete for quite some time. But it's been, 3-4 years since you've really been able to kind of put together a prep,
Mhm.
and string to, so tell us a little bit about like what was kind of going through your head, and then maybe like for the people that are like listening that are newer, because I think if hopefully the people that are listening, I think the big hopefully takeaway from this podcast is kind of staying healthy. Is going to be, especially as you get stronger, the priority is going to be more on recovery and staying healthy. And then so maybe you can kind of speak to that a little bit, and like over the past couple of years, like some of the setbacks that you had and how you able to, mentally and physically overcome that.
Come here. So I'll give you like I'll give like the backstory to it. But so basically, like when I was in North Carolina, I didn't, after the honors, I didn't compete after that. And like I said, like so yeah, so I'll touch on like how recovery, how important it is that I've learned. But so like yeah, it's like I worked in law enforcement out there. I had a very like my job was very hard. Like I dealt with a lot of stuff. I got in a lot of fights at work, and like it was just a lot of physical stuff. So like my job was very, very physically demanding. And so just even that in itself, trying to train on top of that, it was hard. My knee was already hurt to begin with. Then I ended up hurting real bad when I was out there. Like nothing major, but enough to put me out for a few months. And then, fast forward a little bit, like I had some life stuff go on. Like, I started drinking a lot and stuff like that. Which I'll just say this very flat out. Drinking heavily and trying to train for a powerlifting meet just does not go well together at all. So I ended up getting hurt again. So I mean, within my time in North Carolina, I was there for 4 years. I I partially torn a hamstring. I tore my tricep. I strained both my pecs, I think like maybe 8 times each. Um, I pretty much, I don't know for sure if I tore my quad tendon. I'm pretty sure I did. I never went to a doctor for it because I didn't want to report it to my job. And then they put me out and it became a whole big thing. But I'm almost pretty positive I tore my quad tendon because of how badly it hurt. Um, and then just a lot of other like minor little things. So it was definitely really hard, and I kept trying to prep, and then like I'd get like 4 months into it, and then something would happen. It set me out for another 6 months, and then I'd go for another 2 months, get hurt. So it was very, very stressful. I was trying for a long time to compete, and then it took until I moved back to New York. So I had a lot going on in North Carolina. I moved back, and then once I moved back, I really started like getting serious about it again and trying to do it. I came back and that was like gonna be this was gonna be like my let's go, let's do this. And then like I came, and when I came out to your gym the first time, I hurt myself again, and like that put me back out. So like it really like I contemplated after that, like kind of throwing it in and just being like,
Hang it up. Yeah.
yeah, like screw this, like I'll just go to the gym and lift to like be healthy and be like a normal person. Like screw powerlifting, let's just call it a day. And like my girl helped me a lot through that. She was kind of like, I think you should keep trying. I think you should do one more. Like, worst case, if it goes really bad, then then you call it a day after that. But like, I think you should give it at least one more try. So I was like, all right. So fought through the injury again. And then when I moved back to New York, this last time I heard it, when I first moved back, I had no job, so I didn't even have health insurance, so I couldn't go to a doctor or anything anyway. So like, I have no idea what's actually wrong with my knee. I just know that something's not right because I haven't like as of like even right now, I have no feeling in my knee in that spot whatsoever. Like there's no connection. So something happened, and so getting through it and like getting back with you and stuff, it became so like I learned just like recovery was everything. So like I had to really like buckle down on my mobility, my recovery, my sleep was a big thing. I don't ever sleep. And like that was something I tried to like get a little better with, or going to bed a little early. Um Eating, just personal life, like managing like stress management. Stress management was another one. Like
Yeah.
I was under so much stress, and like I didn't realize how much it affected your body. And like since moving back here, I unloaded a lot of that stress. And so like I can't even, it's hard to even explain just like how different I feel. Like my muscles like and everything in my body was just always tense all the time. So like I'm much more relaxed now, and like it's just it's just a matter of like I had to just mentally like get myself to do it and like stop making excuses for shit. Like I would, if I stayed up late one night or whatever, I would make an excuse. Oh well, I had to finish the show, or like it just stupid nonsense stuff. I made a lot of excuses for everything, and it just got down to a point of just like being a man and doing what you had to do. Like I have to do this. Like no, I can't go out. I can't go out tomorrow. Oh yeah, I could come out, but I can't have a drink. And like just understand that I'm going to come out and not have a drink because I have to train tomorrow. And like the gym is important to me. So that was something I started learning. And then as I started to feel better, like as my body started to feel better, I started getting addicted to the feeling of my body feeling good. And like that's now something that like I care so much about now that I'm getting older. Like I'm 30 years old now. Like I'm not an old guy, but I'm old enough to where I have to start giving a shit about
Yeah.
like my internal body now. I can't just like think I'm invincible like I did when I was 22, 23 years old and just do whatever the hell I want. I have to really take this shit seriously because I want to have a family. I want to have kids. Like I don't want to I don't want to destroy a part of my body now so that in 5, 10 years I'm crippled. Like what I mean. So that was something I had to like really like start thinking about and start you know being more mature about. And so yeah, really it just got down to me being more or less addicted to feeling good. And that's really like how this prep sparks. So like throughout this prep, don't get me wrong, there was a couple times like I strained some things throughout this prep. There's a couple things I didn't even tell you that I did. Because my same thing, my job now, my job's very physical. That's all I do. I pick up garbage all day. So there's a couple times at work where I strained my pec, and like it affected me in the gym, and I kind of just like I didn't like make a big deal about it because like if I speak on something, then it's really serious. But if I start like making a big deal about it and talking about the little things that happen, it starts getting bigger for no reason. So like a couple things happened that I just kind of I kept to myself and just got through and just went smart about it, and it worked. But um I guess that was just the main thing. It's just like I really had to just mentally be more mature about it and like just start making better decisions for myself and my body, rather than thinking that like this is what I have to do. Like I want a 2000 total, obviously, but like I need to be realistic about when it's gonna happen. Like it's gonna happen. I'm gonna do it at some point, but I need to be realistic about it. And that's like one of the things I'm happy that like having you as a coach, because you kind of reel me back in on that kind of shit. And like even like this meet, like I wanted to push higher numbers this meet, and like I tried to get it out of you a couple times in conversation, but you stopped it real quick and brought me back in. And honestly, I'm glad you did, because had you not, this meet could have gone completely different, and it could have gone really shitty. And because you did that, I had a very good meet, and I walked out little like that's the thing. Like people ask me like, "Oh, how'd the meet go?" I'm like, "It went great," but like I'm so happy that like I literally walked out of the meet that day, and I felt like I could still go to the gym. Like my body felt so good. I've never walked out of a meet where nothing on me hurt. Like I wasn't even like I was sore, obviously, my body was tired, but like I wasn't like usually I walk out of the meet and I'm crippled and I can't even walk and like I feel like I need to just like go lay down and vegetate somewhere for 3 days. You know what I mean? Like so that was like the biggest thing for me. So like that's what I'm most grateful for with this prep and like with how everything went.
Yeah, so I want to kind of get into the meats. I think that's a lot of good advice for a lot of people. So just to kind of recap for people listening, I think that number one, like you could have like the best program, you could be putting all the effort into the gym, but if the stuff outside the gym is like in disarray, like it's
Yeah.
at some point it's going to catch up to you. So the life stress, the nutrition, the sleep. I think too many power lifters kind of take it for granted. I do think a lot of power lifters, especially I know like I was in that camp where like you feel like, oh, I don't need to worry about my eating because I'm not a bodybuilder. And it's like, but what you kind of put into your body, both, you know, the people you talk, so it's not even just the food, it's like whatever you're consuming from like, if you like you have a very supportive, partner and stuff like that. So like that, I think all of that is plays a huge role. Like where you're living, the jobs, all that stuff, you got to take that into account. And when you're at an elite level, you're going to have dings and stuff, and you're going to have stuff you're going to have to work through. So I think, yeah, making sure that you're not making a big deal out of the little stuff, but still kind of paying attention to it. So, my kind of goal for you for this meet was like number one, just have a good performance and like kind of get out of the meet unscathed. So that was like, check.
Yeah.
And, so to go 9 for 9 to hit, a PR total, all-time PR total, and not like have anything hurt, I think is like a tremendous victory for anyone, let alone an elite lifter. So I think that was good. So I think like kind of going through the strategy, and you can kind of talk about like, we can kind of recap the meet a little bit, but one thing that I like to do, and it's something I learned working with Larry, as you get stronger, I think that you got to be okay with like your opening attempt does not need to be like something that is like ultra impressive or even challenging. Like it's just to kind of get on the board, build some momentum. So I think the stronger you get, like sometimes like you were like kind of like, oh, is this really like all I'm opening with? And I'm like, yeah, I'm like, it's not about your opener. And I think people like the opener should not like be wasting energy. The opener should not like that should kind of be building your confidence. So we opened kind of like a little bit like, maybe lighter than what on paper like would have even made sense. But my kind of goal, it was more of like just a mental thing.
Yeah.
And I think that like, again, you can kind of speak to it, but I think all of your lifts looked really clean. I don't really think you broke form on any lift.
Mhm.
And I think that really helped kind of going into the deadlift. And, I think you just looked really good all day. You looked like every lift, you kind of got better and better as the meet went. And I don't think it could have really went much better. Now, could have you maybe squeaked out a 1900 total? I think it was probably there, but again, that was like not so it's okay to like do a meet and just like, to me, this was like a tune-up meet, which ended up being an all-time PR total, which was great. But not every meet needs to be like, like swinging for the fences. So I think that when you're coming back from an injury, or if you had a long layover, like be okay with just like maybe lowering your expectations a little bit and just kind of like having someone, so maybe you can kind of talk about how the meet went, and then maybe talk about how if there was any kind of key moments where like the handling or the coaching process kind of helped you kind of get through it. Because I think some people also may have not, worked with a coach or had a handler. So maybe you can kind of recap the meet and maybe talk about any kind of, I guess, key moments for you that you felt like, really good. Because I know like obviously everything started with the squat, and the squat went really well, which really set the tone for the day. But I'll let you kind of, recap your thoughts and any like highlights.
Yeah, so yeah, that was like the biggest thing with this meet for me was just like mentally getting back on the platform and getting through the meet. Squat was definitely my like biggest, I would say, like hurdle for the meet. Like that in my head, like I knew if I get through squat, like I'm gonna be okay. That was like my the biggest thing I was nervous about because squatting has always been hard for me, and like especially coming off like the injury to my knee and stuff. Like I was scared to death that I was gonna hurt it. So that, as like you said, yeah, like we opened very low, and that was something I was like, I was a little like iffy about at first, but like it, if going back now, I would have never tried to change anything. Like I said before, like I tried to get you to open a little higher and stuff, and I tried to do some stuff, but if I can go back now, I would have never even mentioned any of that because like that was the attempt selection for this meet was so spot on. Like, and especially after squat too, that like I really started like gaining momentum because like my third squat, after my second, I knew I had like a decent squat in me to like get a small PR or like a meet PR, and I think I tried to get you to go to 665, and you were like, no, like just trust me, like just take 650, like just trust me, it's gonna be okay. And like I took it and it moved so smooth and it felt good. Like like it I probably could have had a little more, but like it felt so smooth that I was like, yeah, like if I had done any more, like I don't know how it would have went. You know what I mean? And it was like after that where I was like, okay, like this, like yeah, like like I just need to trust him. Like he knows exactly what he's doing, But after squatting, yeah, like the meet got a lot easier for me after squatting. Like this meet actually was probably the best I've ever done as far as like my meals in between and like just keeping up with like water intake, sodium intake, all my electrolytes and everything. I did really well with all that. Um, I can't even tell you how much water I probably drank and just like how hydrated I was. But like I felt so good the entire meet. Like there was never a point like usually there's a point in the meet where I start like cramping a little bit and like I need to like start chugging water. Like I felt none of that. Like afterward, like everything was so flawlessly smooth. Like I squatted, I ate, I drank my electrolytes, my water, took in some salt, stretched a little bit, felt great. Went bench went great. Got done, same thing. Boom, boom, boom. Eat, drink, sodium, stretch. Went to deadlifts, and like as the meet kept going, more and more people kept talking to me and like coming up and saying like, oh, good job, like that was awesome. So like I started gaining more and more confidence as it was going, and then like once we got to deadlifts, like I felt like I was just like back in my element again, like I went like I went up and like I was the last deadlift, so like I had like heaviest deadlift in the meet. So like everybody's cheering, like people coming up to me saying stuff. I had like random people in the crowd, like older guys, women, all sorts of stuff, like guys in their 70s coming up, like telling me good job. And like I just I felt like right back at home, you know what I mean? So like it was great. Like I remembered like during deadlifts, I remembered why I loved competing and like why I loved powerlifting. And like that kind of like just got me back to it. Like, yeah, like I need to keep doing this. You know what I mean? So like then like I ended up the meet. I had the last deadlift for the meet. Like everybody was there cheering for the last one. Like as I got done, I was just so happy. Like it was like even like a little bit emotional. I was just like, wow, like this is fucking awesome. Like I'm so happy to be able to do this again.
Yeah, I mean, I was really proud of you, and you should be proud of yourself. I think, especially for like, I think that again, I really want to highlight that, like, again, it's been years since you've been on a platform.
Yeah.
So even just like, there's a little bit of like, hesitation, a little, I call it like, boxers call it like the ring rust. You got to kind of shake the ring rust off. So I think that's now you got some momentum behind you and you can kind of springboard. So we're kind of going into a hypertrophy phase. We're going to unload the back.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because I think a lot of people too, like the first instinct is you want to kind of like get right to it, but you have to like let the body heal. Like everything went well for a reason. So you got to like kind of take time to recuperate and kind of keep going. And the other thing I want to, not that this was the goal of getting best lifter, but there were some other like very talented, strong people there that ended up just whether it was injuries. I think one guy like hurt his quad. Another guy just missed a couple of key attempts. There were some people that were like in your like league that just you outperformed
Yep.
because the attempt selection was better, because you were more patient, you executed the plan better. So I want to also highlight that
Yes.
um as well. So I don't know if if that was something, I don't know if that was something that you noticed or if you were just so like in your element, but I know that was something that I was kind of paying attention to because
I definitely noticed that. Because
yeah,
there's a lot of guys that like they were taking openers that were way too heavy for them, and then they would jump into seconds that were way too heavy for them, and then like there's a bunch of guys that like they went up for the third, you knew they weren't getting it, like like you just knew right away as soon as they unracked the weight or they touched the bar, like they weren't getting it just because of the way they were taking attempt selection. So yeah, that was something I definitely noticed too.
very cool. Now our puppy is here too, so he's getting excited. But
I was getting jealous now too.
yeah. All right. Well, yeah, I'm real proud of you. So I don't know if you want to plug your Instagram or not. I think you did great. And well, actually, before we close out, any like advice for people that are starting out, or if you can kind of give advice to your, younger self or someone that's starting out that maybe they're a teenage lifter, they want to get to competing. What would you tell them?
First thing I would say would be to definitely, if you have the means to do it, get a coach for sure. Having a coach is huge. You always need that extra set of eyes, and even if you yourself are a coach, like you're never gonna be able to coach yourself. Like you always need some outsider looking in, telling you what and critiquing you. So that would be one thing I would say. The other thing, like the main thing is just like don't think think long term in this game. Like, don't think you need to hit specific numbers immediately and that like it's going to happen overnight. Think long term, worry about your recovery, get serious about your recovery, and get serious about everything that goes on outside of the gym. Because I could not go to the gym for 3 or 4 days or even 5 days and recover in those 4 or 5 days and still come back and hit all the numbers I was supposed to that week. So it's not a matter of like, don't stress about missing the gym or like you need to do this on a certain day. And if, I have to go to the gym this day or else it's going to screw up the rest of my, like, it doesn't mean anything. Like if you need to take the extra day or two, take it. Don't stress about the little things. Stress about the long-term recovery and being able to do this for extended period of time. Because getting hurt, especially if you're young, sucks. So just do everything you can to be smart about not getting hurt. And if something hurts, stop. Don't fight through it. Don't think, oh, I could just do one more. I got one more set to do. It's not going to be, no, it is a big deal because if something hurts even a little bit, that one extra step could mean the difference between you tearing something and screwing up potentially the rest of your life. So just worry about your recovery. And if something's bothering you, stop lifting, heal it, and move forward and fight another day.
Yeah, do what you can, train what you could train, fix what you could fix. And sometimes the best thing you could do is, like you said, just stopping and packing it in. Even, going into this meet, we had to like move your last squat session like around a little bit and it worked out fine. That was like the right call. And you had like a good amount of rest kind of going into the meet, which sometimes people kind of freak out about. But
Yeah.
again, if you're not healthy going into the meet, like how do you expect to, perform your best? So sometimes I would err on the side of, leaving, and even also kind of say like, I want to say, I'm kind of estimating a little bit, probably like 50 pounds. You probably did at least 50 pounds or more, like less in terms of like straight weight for what you actually did on the platform. So you were like nowhere near,
Mm-hmm.
like, everything else that was kind of third attempt was like with a reverse band or something,
Mm-hmm.
which was good. So, yeah, man, it was great to see you compete again. I'm looking forward to see what you can do in the future. I also think that for people that maybe have had a long layover, that it is possible to kind of get back into it. Again, you just need to be patient. Again, have the right guidance. Be in the right environment. But yeah, if you kind of are patient, you'd be surprised with what you can accomplish. So, if you guys enjoyed the podcast, please share it. Give it a 5-star review. It helps other people find us. Thank you guys so much for listening. Until next time, stay strong.
Thank you, John.
We'll see you soon. All right.